The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And I'm Carlos.
And it's a Monday.
It is.
It's our second Monday show. Isn't this great? And so let's get right off on it. I was listening to the radio this morning, and we have another feasibility study being done. Oh, glory, glory be. $1 million feasibility study. Isn't it incredible how government has to study everything? If you're sitting in the middle of your kitchen and it's raining on your head, do you have to do a feasibility study to see if you need a new roof? Everything is a feasibility study and a study to see, it's like, really? Durfee High School. And the mayor was saying it's $200,000 well spent for this feasibility study. Horse poo-poo. That is not $200,000 well spent. $100,000 for another police officer and another firefighter or two firefighters. Or two police officers, fine. Money spent on services for the taxpayer, fine. But again, do we need a new high school? Well, maybe we do. Maybe we need a renovation. But I can tell you one thing, the high school's not that old. I remember a time when they built buildings. We still have fire stations standing that were built in the 1800s. Mm-hmm. So we pay top dollar. Of course, the last Durfee High School, we had one guy go to jail and a few people leave their jobs. But this is what government has been reduced to, and everybody makes money. I'd like to see a list of all the people who do these feasibility studies. Now, we all know that when Ed Lambert was the mayor, everything he did had to be reviewed by the Center for Policy Analysis at UMass. And where did he get a job when he left the mayor? What was the first place he landed? Mm-hmm. UMass. Amazing. Taxpayer money wasted again. And Secret Sam, our clueless mayor, again says $200,000 well spent, just like the money for our administrators, the guys who can't even take money out of somebody's paycheck and put it in their account. So, I don't know, guys, let's weigh in on this. Come on.
Visibility for me is like you calling somebody to your home and you need to know how much it's going to cost to add a floor on your home.
Yeah.
I need 2 rooms upstairs, a bathroom. So that's a visibility if you or me or CJ want to do it. And guess what? They will line up at the door to give me visibility for my extension home, the extension of my home for free because they want the job. So that's the point of it. So, but when it comes to government, we need to pay for that visibility.
You're right, and we've said that time and time again. Anytime I need something, I'm going through the process now. I'm getting estimates on some work I want to have done, mm-hmm. and I haven't.
We call it estimates.
Yeah, well, yeah, feasibility and studies and they got all these euphemistic names. But the bottom line is, look, it was like the Armory. Same thing, except it was only $100,000 for that study. This was $1 million, so we added a few zeros. Big deal. So we added a zero, but it's just like anything else. You got a building, it needs repair, and as you said, these are huge money items, mm-hmm. Huge items. I mean, they would be lining up, there would be hundreds, literally hundreds of people trying to bid on building a multi-million-dollar high school.
But Chip, you're missing the point here. You're missing the main point, and the main point is we need a feasibility study because we got to figure out which butt kisser we're going to pay back. That's all this feasibility study is. Well, how many butt kisses are we going to be able to get a job out of the deal? And we got to get the first butt kisser out of the way with the $100,000 or the $1 million feasibility study, because then he decides who of the butt kissers gets the job. I mean, and we saw that in previous administrations, and we always do. But this is a big problem in Fall River, okay? You and I, we sit there. I mean, I needed work done at my house. I called around. I had 3 or 4 people show up. And guess how much it cost me? Nothing. Zero. So how come the city can't do the same thing? Oh, wait. We might step on somebody's toes. We might have, somebody who's like, oh, no, we need to do this. You might have a city official as a contracting company who works on a board who wants that contract. You never know. You just never know.
Yeah, well, there are 3 of us here. We all own property. We all own our homes. Yep. And we've all had work done on our homes by contractors. And we all got estimates for what we did. That's a normal process for anybody. None of us paid any money. We didn't give it a fancy name, and you didn't go home and tell your wife, "Hey, sorry, honey, we got to take $10,000 out of a bank for a feasibility study to see if we need a roof." And even though when you sit in the kitchen and it rains, it's like you're outside, But it's just, this is what the people have allowed government to become, and it's something. In a way, I mean, I'm disgusted by what they do, but I'm not.
I'm laughing in here because we'd be broke by the time we need to start the project.
That's
we're already
right.
broke.
We wouldn't have any money to do the project, but if you did it the way they. But see, that's the thing, Carlos. They never run out of money because it's our money. It's not their money, and that's the thing. As I said, it's almost the fact. I'm disgusted by the way they do it. I'm not surprised, though. And let's face it. I mean, you would expect it. These people get into office. They get people who support them. These people want to make money. And this is what they use it for. As you said, they're gonna siphon off these bids to people who are campaign contributors. I mean, all the highway work in Massachusetts, if you look at the highway work in Massachusetts and follow the money, you'll probably find that the governor got millions of dollars from these people. This is the way business is done in government. And you know something? Quid pro quo for them. And in a way, I don't blame them. You know who I blame? Us. Because we allow them to stay in office and do business this way. We allow them to continue doing this because, you know something? We should boot them all out of office. We'll never get term limits because they have to vote those things in, and they'll never do it to themselves. And it's up to the people to begin another revolt and begin to make holding public office something that you do for a few years or a few terms because you want to, and you want to serve the public, and then you go back into private life. As I said before on an old program, much like we did when we started this country. The Continental Army was not made up of professional soldiers. There were people who put down their plows and put down their hammers if they were shoemakers and picked up a rifle and fought to establish a new nation. And when that was done, they went back to their jobs. And people didn't spend careers in politics in those days, and some of those people, Washington became president and Adams and these people, they had some public service, but today it's become a very, very lucrative profession. Professional politicians, and that's what we have. And to me, it's deplorable because, again, they don't give 2 craps about us. They don't give 2 craps about how much money they spend because it's not theirs. And look at the result. Segueing into my next topic.
Like we don't already know you got a plan.
Fall River, and I want, we got to talk about this one, I think, because Fall River, had the honor, and I protest because I think we're number one. Fall River was found to be the second worst city in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to live in. And that criteria, and I read that report, and that criteria was about things to do, unemployment rates, et cetera, poverty levels. And I'll tell you what, I think we got New Bedford. We should be number one. But I mean, you know, that's the thing. I mean, you look at where Fall River pops out of the page when you Google, and now we get into my topic, the tourism guy. What tourist is gonna come here? Can you see somebody driving down 195 in from another state and they Google, oh, Fall River, next city we hit, and let's Google that. Oh, look, top 50 in heroin use, top 50 in crime. Oh, the second worst city in the state of Massachusetts to live in. Let's visit. This sounds like a really good place, because, you know, it's like, it's the second worst, you know, armpit in the state of Massachusetts.
I think we've moved from
this instead of fixing the city first and then worrying about maybe getting somebody to visit, we're going to try to convince people that spending money and hiring somebody to get somebody to visit here, because I'll tell you what, the people that come here and don't Google this city probably belong at an institution.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because Friday morning, at 12:45, I had unannounced family from Minnesota come in. And the next morning, on Saturday, they went around and they actually looked for what was going on in Fall River. And the only thing that they could talk highly about Fall River was that, hey, there's no way to get around. It's a traffic mess. Every street's a one-way and every street is closed. You can't even get down to the Battleship. And I had to start laughing, because that's not only from people who haven't been in this city for 20, 30 years. This is from people who came here from New Hampshire last weekend. This is from people who came here from Rhode Island. They're like, why do I want to go there? There's nothing there. And you know, you have people like Rob Mellion and the mayor and the city council. Oh, we have the most restaurants any city has that are Portuguese. Guess what? My family was here. They're here. They're still here. And they said, is there an Italian restaurant in this town? I said, go to Federal Hill, because there's nothing in this town. And it's the truth. You know, my aunt turned around and said, because she's from Minnesota originally, my uncle's from Fall River. My aunt turned around and said, I got my fill of Portuguese already. I want something different. So this is what people who come from out of town see. And they only come here because either A, they have to, or B, they feel obliged to because they have family here. That is not going to generate tourists. That is not going to generate a substantial revenue stream. It's going to generate a bigger negative voice to the people of the country.
Yeah, you're right. And you want to spend millions of dollars, number one, as I said, rather than do something logical like work on like New Bedford did to bring in, you know, shipping, a commercial enterprise, which this city would be even better than tourism, because tourism is normally seasonal and it fluctuates, and it has its highs and lows, and it's also has to be related to, and it's directly tied to places like hotels, because if you go to any place that is a tourist attraction, they have a lot of hotels. Because if you actually bring people in, you want them to stay there, like they do at casinos. Fall River has one hotel, and it's on the fringe. It's almost out of Fall River. I mean, if the thing hiccuped and moved to the right a little bit, it would be over the line. And
But Chip, we have plenty of hotels. Let's see. We have the Devil's Cave behind the police station. we have the deck at Government Center. We have Under the Bridge, and there's that over the other side of the railroad tracks, that little community shanty which founded its way there. Those are great hotels. This is what we have to compete for. I mean, I'm looking at my Google search, and I'm looking at the Google map, and I'm saying, Fall River, great place to go. Lots of crime, lots of drugs. Worst place to live. Newport's like 5 to 20 minutes away. And you know what? They got, America's Cup Avenue. They have restaurants. They have hotels. They have the great ships. They have
12-mile drive.
12-mile drive. Lots of mansions. Lots of things to do. The Oktoberfest. Concerts. I think I'm going to go to Fall River because Newport doesn't have anything to offer.
Look, I'm not saying anything bad about Portuguese food. It's very flavorful. But the reality is, as you said, probably the most popular food in the United States, ethnic food, is Italian.
Yes.
And we have no Italian restaurants.
Yeah.
You look at other ethnic foods, we have virtually none except Portuguese food. And actually Portuguese food, although we know it's very flavorful, the average person from anywhere else outside of Fall River, the Midwest, or they're not really familiar with Portuguese food, and they would not be, it would not be, oh, look, they got great Portuguese food. We have no major seafood restaurant in this city, and, or of any quality. And here we are in New England, what is famous, which we're famous for seafood. So you look at all these factors and say, look, that's the problem. We have no perspective in this city. What are we going to work on? It's like, look, if you got a beer budget, you can't drink champagne. And the fact is, we're not going to fix this city with tourism. Even at best, tourism is going to be a fairly small part of the equation to make this city successful. What we have to do is try to rebuild this city from the ground up and bring back the working class people. The people who have moved out to the suburbs, bring them back by doing what? Keeping the taxes low, make the city safe, make this place an attractive place to come to live, not be the second worst city in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to live in. That's the reality. We've got to bring back, because if we look back, Carlos, we look back to when I grew up in this city wasn't an affluent city, but the mills were working. Everybody's mother worked in a mill or somewhere else, or a stower. But if you looked at Fall River, Pleasant Street was loaded with stowers. South Main Street was loaded with stowers. We had restaurants all over the city. There were 9 restaurants from Stafford Square to Eastern Avenue. There were 9 restaurants just between that geographical area, which isn't that far. And why? Because people worked, they had a little bit of money, and they spent a little bit of money. Basic economics. If people have money, they spend it. And if they spend money, it will attract businesses. This city has been murdered. And it's first-degree murder, as far as I'm concerned, premeditated murder by the government.
Well, you're right, Chip. But Carlos, you've been murdered. I mean, you jumped ship and became a traitor on Friday, and I guess the mayor shoved it up yours too.
Friday, I guess at the same time we were having a bad time.
All
at the same time, you were here at the show and me over there at City Hall, which, by the way, I think that's where I spend most of my time. But on Friday, it's the only day I don't go there to pick up my check. Yeah, and Friday I got another slap on my face, and I think the neighborhood, the Flint neighborhood, got a big slap on their faces because we have adopted a section of the top of Pleasant Street that was not on the maps of the city as with an association. And when we draw the lines pretty much dividing the associations, that section, they call themselves the Flint. They call themselves part of the Flint, but it was not on the map. So I got adopted a motion on my last meeting, neighborhood meeting, and we adopted 34 streets. So we went from 84 streets to plus 34 streets, 138 streets. And I had put a call into the mayor's office through Nick Camara, which is the new outreach
No relation,
coordinator.
by the way. No relation.
If the mayor would like us to do a presentation and kind of telling, it would be nice if the mayor does like a press release, a conference, a press call, whatever he wants to do it, to let the community know that those streets became part of the Flint Neighborhood Association. And I was surprised Friday early morning that I got a call from Nick, and he told me, Carlos, I'm calling you because the mayor told me to tell you that you are on your own to do this press release. So you can call the city. You can call the paper, the Herald News, and do your press conference or whatever you need to do. And, you know, whatever I told them on the phone was not enough. So I had to go to the city hall, you know, and kind of make it face to face. And here's the thing, you know, I don't know if the mayor's watching, but if he is, good for him, because now he's going to have a chance to hear from me. The only intent that we've been doing is always bring, as a courtesy, bring the mayor into the projects that we do to benefit our neighborhoods, to benefit our city. If you don't want to be part of it, it's fine. But I don't need the mayor to tell me that I can, on my own, call Herald News and do a press conference or whatever. I can do that. I have no problem doing that. But would be nice if the mayor, at least since he didn't participate in anything, has no fingerprints in anything like this, but had the courtesy as being the mayor to be, you know, involved with the neighborhoods and to be on our side. Because guess what? I didn't ask the mayor anything for myself. I never did for all the years that I do this. I will never ask the mayor for anything personal for me. When I approach the mayor is for my neighborhood. And on the past, and Flanagan, during the Mayor Flanagan, he never refused to be part of something that the neighborhood did, knowing that most of times I didn't agree with him, and I didn't support him for office. But he knew how to separate, you know, personal issues and personal likes with neighborhood issues and personal and represent and being the mayor of a neighborhood. So with that being said, I made up my mind, and I'm going to put a motion on our next meeting that the press release, I will do the press release on the sidewalk outside City Hall, because supposedly is at closest we're going to get to the 6th floor to do a project like this. And I have no problem doing that. I just have to call the media and be there, and the job will be done. But I guess the mayor is not going to be part of it.
I think it's time for the Flint to secede.
That's right. But Carlos, come on, Carlos. Look, number one, you went down to the city hall with the totally unreasonable expectation of finding the mayor in the city hall. Mm-hmm. It's number one. I mean, how would you do that? Because he's overwhelmed by work, but he's never there. I don't know. No wonder he's behind. He's never in his office. So unless he does everything as he's walking or wherever he is hiding.
And last night we had another movie night. It was at the Highlands. Friday night, everybody was hoping, hey, the mayor's going to show up because this was the first, movie night that we started. It's 5 years, so it's a lot of people here. The mayor's going to show up. No show. On Saturday was Lafayette. I said, oh, forget it. If you don't even want to do a press conference with the Flint neighborhood to adopt the streets, never mind the Flint. So last night at Highlands, everybody was expecting the mayor because he lives on the Highlands. So say, hey, that's his neighborhood. He's going to show up. No show.
Carlos, come on. Look, you expected to get the mayor to cooperate with you when you didn't go up and sit in front of the city council and say, You know, if they raise the price of eggs in Stop and Shop, you know, you don't complain to the manager. I love fees. I love taxes. Bring them on. Yeah, the mayor's great. Everybody in this city's a cheap bastard. So the fact is that, you know, you people don't want to pay. We should all pay. It doesn't matter that we have one of the lowest incomes in the state, and if not the country. See, you got to realize that he's a lawyer. He likes these terms like quid pro quo, see? So if you want service from him, you need a quid pro quo. See, you have to go and preach his gospel if you want him to pay attention to your neighborhood association. But the election's coming. I have a sneaky feeling that he's going to begin to pay attention to the neighborhood associations very, very shortly. Because the people are not happy. You know, he can do all the polls he wants, and I don't know what his polls are showing, because people have a tendency to lie when they get a telephone call or something like that. But I'll tell you what.
According to somebody on South Main that I spoke this Friday, was that he told during the cleanup at Lafayette Park, at the Kennedy Park, that I don't care what people say about the $10. I'm going to get reelected because I have the votes to get reelected. It was a person that heard this conversation and was amazed, you know, with this conversation. I can't believe that I'm hearing this.
Hey, and remember, I won by 37% of the vote.
Exactly.
And the sheer arrogance of saying that I don't care what they say.
Exactly, yeah.
He doesn't, and I'll tell you what, it is obvious from his short tenure as mayor, that is absolutely true. He does not care what the taxpayer says. He does not care what the people, the segment of this population, and I think this is one of the primary problems. The people that contribute the most to this city, who are being raped and pillaged by these politicians, don't comprise the majority of voters.
No, and Chip, the thing is that, you know, I wrote an article this weekend about it. I've written it over and over again. And our local media source also wrote an article almost similar to mine. They wrote it earlier. But almost a year ago, the public revolted. The public stood up and worked to get a man out of office. They have continued that revolt, and they're fighting on every tooth and nail on all this, what we call illegal taxation without representation. And the elected officials, the city council, the mayor, the governor, the attorney general, the inspector general are saying, too bad. It's Fall River. Who cares? Too bad. You'll do what we say. I think it's arrogant of the mayor, arrogant of the city council, arrogant of our governor, our attorney general, to turn around and say, who cares? You're too stupid to know about money. Okay, we know, you don't, so shut up. And that's basically what they're saying to us, the voter and the citizens. And you know what? It's got to stop.
Yeah, you're right. But the problem is it's difficult in this community, and hopefully everybody's fired up enough, because I know the numbers he's looking at. He's looking at the political hacks that have got jobs in their families, the political malingerers who have got their head in the trough, who are making plenty of money, and they don't care. They don't care if the taxes go up. They don't care if the fees go up. They're making big money. And then you got the other people that he can buy with a Charmaine sandwich and are oblivious to what's going on because they're living in some high-rise, and they don't give two craps because, you know, the days of them worrying about paying their bills are gone.
Oh, yeah. And the time is up already. Can you believe that?
But we're starting campaign season, and I'm ready for it.
So am I. Hey, we'll see you on Wednesday, and we got some more news for you, I'm sure. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, and remember, be the voice of the people. Speak out for yourself.
Let's get angry.